Welcome to a new episode of the podcast series from LifeCoachDirect. Today we have our very special guest, Paulie. Um, and well, Paulie, can you introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners?
Hi, I'm Polly. I think professionally, we try to help our clients the best that we can do. So we acquire a lot of certifications, but I think we don't want to bore ourselves with that. I just simply here to help people live their life to the fullest, and I think that's the easiest way to put it. I'm Polly. I have three kids. I'm a trans stepmom. And I live in Switzerland, but I'm originally from the Philippines. And now I am the founder of the Sacred Space Swiss, a mental health service provider in Switzerland. So hello, hello.
Hello. And what is the kind of work you do at the Sacred Space?
I help clients unlock their full potential. So to speak, number one would be I work with clients with imposter syndrome.
I
So
see.
when you feel not good enough, when you feel that you have a voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, you're not gonna make it, how is it possible for you to deserve this kind of life? Regardless if you're successful or unsuccessful or trying to be successful, that voice will be present to a number of us in different varying degrees of strength. So I help clients get that block out. Also help clients with anxiety and depression along the way as, imposter syndrome kind of develops and progresses. So that's pretty much what I do. So bottom line, I'm just helping clients live their fullest, best life.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people can resonate with those types of thoughts and uh, emotions. So actually, I love starting with this question. We go more into detail and depth later on in the conversation about that. But what's a story about yourself that most people don't know?
Oh, geez. I think that's a good one. And I actually gave it a good thought this morning, Tim, while I was going through the questions, because I think because of social media that we can curate the life that we can project. And all of my social media accounts are all focused on the work that I do and not my personal life. So people think that it is the only thing that I do day in, day out. Like it's a 9 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, and sometimes it bleeds through Sundays. It's the only thing that I do. But in reality, I do very normal things like all moms do. Pick up, what do you call that? Jackets on the floor because my kids have left it there. Wash their clothes, do the cooking, wash the dishes, tidy up the home, all of those things. So while I mean, probably people would see that that's what I do from 9 to 5, but there are times that you have an hour of gap for your next client, and in your head, oh, I have to do the dishes now, or I have to offload. So, all of the mommy things, yes, I do those every single day.
I actually love that answer, to be honest, because on social media, it's like you said, almost everybody only project their life what they want other people to see, but behind the scenes is like the normal life is almost never shown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
I hope I
answer.
can see that. I can show that one day, but I'm not really very skilled in social media, but trust me, I'm the person, I'm the go-to in terms of managing everything at home. So so we're all trying to juggle different things, and I think all people do that.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. So I'm curious. So what was the moment in your life that changed everything for you? Why did you pursue this career?
Wow. Um, I my life was very stable. When I say stable, very predictable and very safe back in the Philippines. I was in the corporate and I thought I will just retire in the corporate. That was the projection that I had in my head. And I'm fine with that. Not until I met my husband, and that's when the time that I decided that I want to have my own family, because I love kids, really. But in the Philippines, people like me, like a trans woman, cannot legally marry someone, more so even have their own family in general. Although you can probably, but to be recognized and all that jazz, it's clearly impossible because there's no law supporting that. So I told myself that my dreams of having that family will never be in the Philippines for sure. And that's when I met my husband when I was 32. And right at the airport, I already know that this is the guy that I'm marrying, right at the airport. So when I saw him at the airport, I said, okay, well, this is the guy that I want to marry because he has blue eyes. Who doesn't love blue eyes, right? So I said, oh, blue eyes is cute. So this is the guy that I want to marry. And he has three kids, and I love kids again. So I said, okay, let's see how this will go. Fast forward to 2017. That's when I left everything back home. I left my job, I left my family, I left my friends, and start a new life in Switzerland. And hold on. And I thought that starting a new life is easy because it's like, okay, the high of being with someone and having a family was my dream, and now I have it. But when it's handed over to you, it can be very overwhelming because now that you have that precious gift that probably not a lot of people have and are aspiring to have, the next question is, what can I do to maintain this? What can I do to protect this family? And because of that, wanting to protect that family and me navigating my own life here, or what to do in Switzerland, really, because I don't speak the language, I don't know where to start. That's when I was also suffering on my own. And I found this book called, I think it's like the, actually forgot the title, but it's about this our souls go through a process, a very difficult process, more of like a midnight part of our soul, and that soul goes to navigate and would like to find their truth. And that's when I started digging into publications back home about the trans women story. And I came up with, or I found out this word called babaylan back in prehistoric, pre-Spanish times in the Philippines. Philippines was under the Spanish conquistadores is how we call them for 333 years, I think. So because of that, a huge chunk of our history as Filipinos was gone. So when I started reading about how communities thrive in the Philippines before the Spanish came, there were babaylans in the group or babaylans in communities, and these babaylans are now what we know as psychologists or
Ah, I see.
counselors or spiritual advisors. So these are like the people that, they hold a specific power in the community. They allow the community to be cohesive, and these these people just hold the community together. And I said, this speaks so much about what I really want to do. If I don't have to worry so much about 9 to 5 job, what is it that I want to do? And this resonates so much with me. Funny thing is, when I started digging through my own personal history, I said, when I was 5 years old, I go to church, usually go to church every Sunday with my grandfather. And when my grandfather asked me, what would you like to become? Because we're always seated just few feet away from the pulpit. And I told my grandfather that I want to be that person right in front. And my grandfather said, you want to be a pastor? So yeah, sure, why not? And I was 5. It's like, why? And I said, well, because after church, this pastor goes to his office and everybody goes there And a couple of times I've heard people sharing their stories, their problems, and I was there to guide. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And I forgot that part of me because of the corporate hustle, etc.
Yeah,
But I know that that stayed with me. So it just went full circle. When I was finding what do I want to do that's way bigger than me, or way bigger than the physical things that we can possess. And that's how it all started.
that's amazing. That's an inspiring story. So when you say, um, that's what I want to do, if you can describe it very shortly, what you do, how would you
Mhm.
answer that?
What I do is what I said a while ago, Tim. I think all modalities of healing goes to a certain path of just wanting a person, or just helping a person live their life to the fullest in whatever it is. If that person is suffering from anxiety and depression, and that person is not living his life to the fullest because of that, we enter in the picture to help that person live, integrate back in society, and live their life again to the fullest of what we can do. So I think all mental health practitioners probably have that in mind. Even doctors have that in mind, counselors have that in mind, how to make the person be able to live their life to the fullest. And I think that's what I do. If we talk about techniques, we have different modalities. I do sacred space holding for people looking for a more spiritual conversation. These are the people that are probably in their crossroads of life, and they're probably in their 40s or 50s or even early 30s. They do have all the resources, money is not a problem, everything is doing well. But what is it that I can do to be of service to others, or something that's beyond the physical things? And this is when they started speaking about their childhood dreams that they cannot have. As an adult, I want to start a business but I can't. Why? I don't know. I just feel like I'm not a business person. I don't have a degree in business, and that's what people tell me all the time. You don't need a degree in business, just do it. um, some people too would have their own blocks that they have a family. They feel that they're doing the responsibilities of a mom, but they feel that I'm I'm not doing enough as a mom. This feeling of I'm not doing enough. So, how can you even be fully present with your child or with your family when that cloud is hanging over above your head? Like, I'm not good enough as a mom. So, these are just sample stories that I hear from my clients, because I don't want to categorize people as, oh, you have anxiety and depression according to your doctor. Oh, you have this according to your doctor. I want to hear your story. How is this affecting your life, and what can we do to remove this? And without this problem, what will your life be like?
Yeah, and it resonates. It's funny that you say it like this. Because 2 days ago, I went to a seminar in the Netherlands, and one of the key takeaways for me I took from that is that most people only operate from here, but we forgot how to feel.
Mm,
It's like feel your emotions, feel, and because we want a solution from here, but that's just in here, like intellectual. But if we want to go through things, it's my opinion that you have to feel
mm,
through it as well. And that's
mm.
a skill we, uh, well, might have uh, forgot a little bit.
No, I definitely have. I think it's because, and I always um, share this with the people that I work with, whether it's in group or one on one, that you can never separate your mind from your body from your spirit. Those three will always dance. So when you say that, I think I am not good enough, it just just rest in your head. It affects your posture. It affects how you step inside a room. And people are very mindful of how people's cues, bodily cues. And when they see that you are projecting that I am not good enough feeling, and you feel that it starts in your mind, no, it affects your body, and people see that. So people will respond to you that you are not good enough, because they know and they can see and they can smell. and hormones travel. So when you have that I am not good enough feeling, you step into the room, people can sense and smell cortisol. Our bodies
Yeah.
can detect that. So we will respond accordingly to that. So when we the thought that we have about ourselves, it just doesn't rest in our head. It will affect us entirely. So that's why it's a huge block. But once you remove it, you also see that your body will respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. And if you could teach just one concept to everyone listening, what would that be?
One concept, one helpful concept that they can do.
Correct. Yes.
I do this too all the time. I thought it was a juju, but I tried it. It worked. Every time I feel sad, depressed, anxious, not okay, right? Because we all have that moments in our lives. There are four questions that I ask myself first before I go into a thinking escapade of what ifs and movies in my heads of what ifs. First, I ask myself, am I hungry? Funny, but okay.
That's funny.
First
Yeah.
question that I ask is, okay, am I hungry? Okay, not. Am I thirsty? Am I sleepy? And lastly, I ask myself if I am feeling warm.
With your feelings, what? Sorry.
You feeling warm, you're feeling hot. So
Ah,
again,
warm. I
I
see.
am hungry. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I sleepy? Do I feel warm? All of these four are physiological signs that we can address, that we have direct control. So when you feel irritable, for example, it happens, right? These are the four things that I ask myself. And most of the time when I'm irritable, it's because I lack sleep. And when I lack sleep and I have to be with someone, I have a friend, I have to meet up a friend, I will tell my friend, you know what? I will meet you, but I only had 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. So if I will start behaving funny, please know that it's not because of you, but because I lack sleep. And I want that person to know, because if not, that person will think that he was or she was an inconvenience that day. So the moment that we know how our physiology can really affect our emotions, we know how to manage it. But if we don't know and just say, oh, I'm just feeling off. Okay, what do you mean by that? And if you cannot give an answer to that, then, that will just cascade into a lot of drama in your day. So get hold of yourself and really body scan and ask yourself those four questions before you do or decide or, do things or meet a friend, do a meeting. Ask those four questions first. That saved my life 90% of the time.
I love the four questions, but what I might even love more is when you said that you voice out that, okay, I might be sleepy and that if I do something that's not necessarily good for the conversation, then it's not about you, but it's
Yeah,
because I had a lack of sleep or I'm hungry or whatever.
yeah.
Because
And
most of the time
you're
people
honest, right?
internalize and they always think it's them, right? But if you
Yes,
voice out like it's not you,
yes.
then that alone also is like, oh, how it's a relief for them that oh, it's not me.
And sometimes too, Tim, you know, you probably have observed it that, for example, we're together having a meeting and you feel that, I'm off, I'm not making sense, then you probably would think that, okay, this person probably doesn't want to talk to me today or doesn't probably want this business or etc. And then you started voicing that out, let's say in the conversation, like you kind of look wobbly and, not your usual self today. And the moment I will tell you, well, because I lack sleep, some people too will find it okay, probably she's just saying that as an excuse that she lacks sleep. So in order not for that to happen, and when I feel not myself before meeting someone, I really tell them off the bat way beforehand that if you catch me I'm not being myself in the conversation. It's not you. I'm hungry, and the restaurant is 1 hour, 2 hours away. So I haven't had any food. That's an example. That's why I'm hungry. It's not
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I actually love that. Haven't heard that. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
Try it. It will
Yeah.
it'll change your life. And all of my programs, this is part of the hygiene that I ask them to do before formally starting. Ask yourself these questions because if not, then some of the discussions may be a bit triggering emotionally, and you will believe that okay, I'm triggered by it, but you're not probably triggered by it objectively. You can just look at it, right, as a fact. But probably because you're just hungry or sleepy, that's why you want to react violently towards a specific topic.
Yeah. I think it's very helpful. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Uh, well, maybe build a little bit on this. What's the most important lesson you've learned on your journey?
Oh, building a business can be very isolating.
Isolating.
Building a community can be very isolating. Um, Looking for like-minded people can be very isolating, and that is part of the process. There are When I started the Sacred Space Swiss, it's funny because I felt that okay, so how do I present myself to the people? Because they know me as someone from the corporate, from training and operations. So how do I step in and say this is what I do now? They'll probably think that I'm losing my mind and all of these questions. So when I really saw it that when I started talking about what I do to the people that I know now, they zoned out. Some of these people have left conveniently for greener pastures. That's what I tell myself. Some of them have left. Some of them have left at a periodic time, but came back when they saw that oh, it's consistent. It's not just she's just losing her mind. She really wants to do this. It's a realization. So when you do something that really feels true to your truth, people will leave. People around you will leave. And that is okay because it means too that these people are probably not there because they can no longer support that. And because they can no longer support that, the universe is generous enough to send few people, like-minded people your way to support that. So you will feel that you'll probably lose some people along the way, but trust me, the universe will give it 10 times more along the way when you just stick to that path.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it resonates. I think almost every coach I speak to has
Yeah.
had a period that people say, "Are you out of your mind?" Leaving the safety of the job and the security that it gives.
I
Uh,
still have that, Tim. Whenever
yeah.
people ask me, "What do you do?" I said, "I really I need my full breath and ask myself those four questions in my head before I even open my mouth because I have seen people literally zoning out the first 5 seconds when I tell them that, this is what I do, this is sacred space, and they zone out and they start rolling their eyes or checking their phone. Their reputation per se may be different because in the Philippines it will be like, oh, that's new, tell me more about it. They'll be more open because it's something new to their ears. But for people in Europe, and you know that, I mentioned this a while ago, it's quite saturated when it comes to health, to, well-being in general, saturated market. People zone out because it's like, oh, so you're probably bored with your life and you want to do something, and it's just a capriciousness of it all. So you're just building this, but you don't really earn as much as I do, and um, doing my 9 to 5, and I that's what I get in Switzerland. It's a very opulent country. People would size each other up because of your possessions.
Yes.
Do you have cars? Do you have luxury cars? Do you have Rolexes lining up? At least it's a projection, but in actuality, you can actually see that happen. People group and people size each other up because of whatever wealth they have accrued. Um, Probably it's working to their advantage, but that's the reality of life. People do size you up. So
I once heard that when people ask you, what do you do? Then the answer in their head, they can measure the amount of respect they want to give you.
yes, they kind of size it out. They'll ask you, "Are
Yeah,
you a psychiatrist? No. Or a psychologist? Do you have a clinic?"
yeah,
Because these are symbolic spaces that's recognizable in the mainstream. But when you say, "No, I run my sessions through Zoom or I do in person, but we meet in cafes sometimes in places to relax or visit in their homes." It's a very adventurous, non non-traditional way of helping a person. So for them, it's like that's something I don't know. So it's something I don't know means to say something shady or something just difficult to wrap my head around it. And I don't want to go that path because I think it would be easier if you are a psychiatrist. So I have a vision of you working your 9 to 5, that you're probably talking to clients, handing out medicines, and so that's easier to wrap up. But
yeah.
the moment you describe your day and you're not in the space of Western psychiatry, Western psychology, people just lose it, and it's okay. It's okay. That's how it
Definitely.
is. That's
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah, and actually, I was wondering when you were saying this, like, what is something people get wrong about what you do in this case?
I think I think this is the funny thing. So I know that the client is interested about hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy. And we were talking about it. Like, what is it all about? And I said, well, this is a modality that was used by Marisa Peer. She founded it. And Marissa, by the way, as I've read, but probably this is something that needs to be verified because I don't have the actual documents. But she actually was helping Princess Diana when Princess Diana had a very not fabulous life back when she was a princess. So so when I share that to people and say what is hypnotherapy, give them an introduction and tell them how the modality works. And the immediate thing that popped in their head would be the image of performance hypnotherapy on stage in circuses and said, "So you will ask me to do what I might not want to do." I said, "What do you mean?"
Becoming a monkey and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
What's the image in your head?
yeah.
Like, oh, because we talk about hypnotherapy, there's people, there's this pendulum, or I said, "Oh, no, 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 we're not going to do that, sweetie. And I will not ask for your bank account even because your mind is very active. If you don't want the questions that I'm asking, you can decline to answer. If you don't want to participate with specific activities while in trance, and I'll ask you, okay, step into the room, look for yourself in the room. What are you doing? If you don't want to give that out, because probably it may be very sensitive, you can just tell me how you're feeling. You don't have to give me the full detail, and we'll work on how you're feeling because emotions hold a lot of story. So that's one of the things that they're scared about, giving their bank accounts. I said, no, I cannot do that. I hope I can. I could have been a millionaire now. And I will be a millionaire, but not because of that.
Yeah,
The pendulum
the pendulum. Yeah,
gets
no,
me all the time. Gets me all the time.
yeah. I guess that's fun too, but that's not for the mental health
Well,
industry.
I'm not sure who else uses that type of modality. There are a lot of deepeners available apart from pendulum. Deepeners are the techniques we use to
Yeah.
calm the mind and allow the mind to relax and trust the process and decompress along the way. So it becomes very suggestive once the critical thinking mind is, I would say, on standby.
Yeah, true, true. And I just wanted to ask, because previously I asked you what the most important lesson is you've learned, but what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
I think this might be a cliche, but the best advice that I received was it came from my husband actually. And he told me it's okay to commit mistakes.
Sorry,
It,
what
it's okay to commit mistakes.
to make me, yeah,
It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not have the perfect process. It's okay not to make it 100% as long as you gave it your all. And I think we're s- we're actually very scared to make mistakes, especially in and when you say mistake, it's not really a mistake that will damage a person's life per se, but there are just a missteps in life that we feel should not should not have been there, but it happened, right? Mistakes could be, I'll give you a concrete example. Did I use the right words when I spoke to my daughter about this and that when started disciplining? You will not get it right away. There are words that when you speak to your kids that it may sound too harsh, too strong, and they will react differently. And that mistake will stay on my head the entire day. But after that conversation with them, they actually had moved on. But that stayed with me the entire day. That mistake, your words were harsh. You're not a good person. You're not a good mom. You're trying so hard, but it's not happening. And sometimes it can even stretch to 2 days. So this self punishment that we give ourselves, s- and I think moms can relate to this. Am I parenting enough? Am I a good mom? We always have those questions. But when you look at your kids and they're okay, you realize that, yeah, that was like a mistake that I'm punishing myself for. But it's actually a learning opportunity for me. And ask myself, what is it about that that makes me think of this, of that instance, 100 times more than I should? Why is it that it bothers me a lot? And that's when you could go back to your childhood. It's like self-reflective story. But I try my best to, I think when I moved to Switzerland, I tried my very best not to rock the boat, not to fill up the space with my presence. I tried my best to reduce myself in social settings because I had a lot of insecurities. I don't speak the language. I come from a third world country, so people would think that you are marrying someone for visa. That's a reality. That's what I hear, and that's what I see sometimes. People would have prejudices around. But I realize that the more I reduce myself, that's also when I lose that my truth. And I don't want to lose my truth. So I allow mistakes to happen when there are mistakes, learn from it, dust off, move on.
yeah, that's amazing. Uh, it also resonates with me. I also had a period where I thought I needed to do everything perfectly, and then uh, in your head, you punish yourself for every mistake you make, and that becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And instead of uh, getting out there and trying new things to achieve whatever you want to achieve, you just back off because you are getting afraid of making mistakes. And now
Mhm.
you're stuck into your, well, I guess that's
A
what they
loop.
call the comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
comfort zone because you're
yeah,
trying to build a wall, you're trying to restrict yourself because the goal of the mind is to protect you. So
yeah,
when the mind spots a mistake, the mind will do everything to make sure that you won't commit a misstep because we're talking about your survival, but the mind doesn't understand the real survival. The only survival that the mind understands is as we all know in history, the mind developed, or the mind became to be the mind that it is now because of its own story. It developed when our ancestors were still living in the caves. So whenever ancestors would go out, they have to be hyper vigilant for them not to be eaten by the predators. That's how it understands security and safety. But now we're in 2025. There are no roaming predators. So it had transformed itself into something else, and self-punishment. Self-punishment is self-preservation. And as what you said, staying in your safe zone and don't rock the boat so much because you have to be safe. You have to be unseen at times. Because if people will spot your mistake, oh my God, that's the end of it all. That's like, end of it all, and there's no turning back. So these stories exist in our heads, but because we sometimes believe no, but because we don't know how the mind operates, we don't know where the mind is coming from, we feel that that's a self punishment that we deserve. When in fact, no, we can teach the mind new, wonderful things. And that's becoming conscious of that. So when we're conscious of that, then we can definitely have a better, fuller, happier life.
Yes, I love that. That's right. I just had a thought when you talked about that. It's like the lions and the tigers, and the
Yeah.
substitute for that is the opinion from other people.
Yes, or
Like
even your
the
partner
contrast is
sometimes.
like huge.
Or even deadlines, work deadlines, right? Or even a commute,
Yeah,
hellish commute, traffic, your mother-in-law. There's
yeah,
a lot of predators now to be had.
exactly. Yeah,
But we just have to teach our mind that these are not
yeah,
predators, and we have to teach our mind that. That's our responsibility to
yeah,
teach and guide our mind.
yeah. Okay, I have one finishing question. That's okay with you. Um,
Sure.
if you could leave people with just one powerful insight, what would that be?
I know your feelings are valid, but don't make any decision out of those feelings. Should I expound?
Yeah, please.
Because I feel that that's what I feel, but we all experience this. Feelings are fleeting. They are present 1 second, few seconds after they're gone. When we feel sad and we make a decision out of that sadness, and not out of the wisdom of sadness, because it's different, but just out of sadness, out of depression, out of anxiety, name it, you may not like the outcome. But probably if you will create a decision out of the wisdom of that, and when I say wisdom of sadness, it's really an understanding as to why am I feeling sad? Where is this coming from? Those self introspective questions that'll probably lead to something else that you will probably very profit enough. But if we base our decisions from one fleeting emotion to another without understanding where emotions are coming from, we will lead ourselves to disastrous outcomes. And I've seen it. I've seen some of my clients marry someone because I'm just very happy with you. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're filled with all of the emotion, all of the hormones in our body, and we feel very happy. But when I asked my client, okay, well, I know you're very happy, and I know it led to divorce, but what happened there? What could have been done differently there? It's like, I was so happy. I thought that was it. I think it could have helped if I've grounded myself, as grounded myself being, to wait until the tide, the tide went back to its normal level, or has ebbed. So when it has ebbed, your emotions are more clear. You give space to critical thinking. And when you give space to critical thinking, you can combine that emotion, where that emotion is coming from, and the critical thinking. So again, we see this all the time being thrown around. Your feelings are valid. Yes, it is. But don't make decisions out of those feelings too. Give
Yeah,
it
when
time.
you spoke about this, I completely agree with you. And I once heard this analogy about let's say you have four kids and you are a parent, and someone asks you which one is your favorite. And then ideally, you love all four kids equally, right?
Yes.
Um, but now let's say uh, that those four kids are called love, happiness, shame, and guilt.
Oh, geez.
Do you love all the four kids still equal? Because when it comes to emotions, we play favorites. And why is that? And why can't we love anxiety as much as we love love, for
Mhm.
example? Uh, yeah, that always stuck with me. Like, why do we
That's a
play
good
favorites
analogy.
so much when it comes to emotions?
Yeah, and I think we have even labeled it, and we categorize them as positive energy, positive emotions versus negative emotions.
Exactly.
When in fact, in our head, it should not be categorized as that. They should all be lumped together because these emotions, again, feelings, they come and go. And they all have equal importance of just keeping us safe where we're coming from. Um, some people even don't like to feel happiness and joy. There's this thing called foreboding joy. I'm probably going off script, but there's this thing called foreboding joy. Foreboding joy is when people don't want to feel that joy immensely in their body because they know that after that they will be crying shortly after. Like there is something that will happen that will take it away. And I don't
Yeah.
want to feel that foreboding joy. I just want to be calm. But what is the point of living if even joy is something that you cannot give yourself, and in fact you should, right? So there's a lot of misrepresentations. Probably because of how our parents were parented too. We all live in different spaces and inter generations. So probably that's what they picked up and they passed it on to us. And now we have a lot of researches about emotions. So again, do not base your decisions on your feelings and emotions. Don't create your decisions out of that. Really ground yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. Uh, so yeah, I guess I want to wrap it up. Um, Within the description, we will provide links where people can find you, also within Life Coach Direct. Um, do you have any final thoughts before we definitely wrap up?
No, I don't have final thoughts, but I'm enjoying this conversation, Tim. And I just hope too that people listening to this will enjoy it way, way more than we did. Because at the end of the day, we're all here for a mission of just wanting to live a happy, fulfilled life. And we
Right.
can all have that.
Yeah, agree. And I love that to be the final words of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.